just gotta do the work. All right, welcome back to Real Estate Business Builders. So I'm going to dig in today with our coaches, and we're going to do two parts here on how to take your unfair share of deals in the current market. And there's lots of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. The FUD that is rampant with the NAR changes and the buyer side, and even NAR, our association, National Association of Realtors, is estimating like 600,000 agents are going to leave the business. And there's only like a little over 2 million in the US. So that's like a third that they're estimating will go away with some of the changes. We do not want that to happen to you. You are not here digging in to this training on a weekly basis. So you are, just another byproduct of the changes that are occurring. The mastermind, this is actually a mastermind with our coaches. I think 3 or 4 of our coaches, where I just guide them through some questions that are really kind of pressing our industry right now. And they have just this experience. They've each built businesses out of being a solo agent and adding leverage and building systems and having time and money freedom. And now they're helping others do it within the Real Estate B School ecosystem, and specifically our $1 Million Agent Method. So if you know you need another kind of step in your journey, and doing these free trainings is not quite getting you the results that you want, the $1 Million Agent Method is only 90 days that we work together. So it's not this long-term obligation, but the return is massive. I would estimate easily over a 10x return. And I even guarantee $40,000 of additional gross commission income generated within the 90 days that we work together. Go to $1millionagentmethod.com if you know that's you. Enjoy this part one in terms of taking your unfair share of the market. This is going to be good. All right, unmute yourselves. We're going to get after it. So in true Lars fashion, I put together a list of questions this morning as I was sitting in the sauna. And so you guys have had only about an hour's advance notice. But what I thought we'd do, you guys have the unbelievable vantage point of not only one day you decided to get a license, you joined a brokerage that gave you probably no guidance on how to get super busy and be a successful realtor, but somehow you figured it out. Then you probably got so busy where you just had to figure some crap out and add some people around you, and you figured that part out, and you've all done that at a high level. And now you get to coach others that are on a version of that journey, from like newer to the business. I want to get to 2 transactions per month. And you've coached people that are doing 20, 30 transactions per month. So you guys have seen all of it. And this is just your chance to speak. Like, there's no specific client you're talking to. So sometimes when we're talking to a client, we almost have to like tiptoe around what we want to tell them because we don't. But I just want the like unfiltered, raw, like coach perspective, knowing all that you guys know. What advice would you give? And I'll kind of guide you through some questions here, but it is just an interesting time in real estate. There's just a lot of fear around what's going on the buyer side, and there's agents and clients of ours that have already pulled the ripcord, and they're like, I'm out, I'm giving away my license, I'm not going to do this anymore. And then generally real estate is just really hard, outside of that additional fear that's kind of entered into our world. So real quick, and I only want you to spend like maybe 60, 90 seconds. I just want you to kind of give a brief overview of like market, like your journey, what your business looks like, that sort of thing. Stacy, I'll let you go first.
All right, I'm in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and my market when I started was 150,000. Now it's at like population 225,000. Built my business while having 2 babies, 16 months apart. My husband has been amazingly supportive, so I was able to build a team. I was part of another team as well, and we had great success there. And then second team built from 0 to 300 transactions in 5 years, and sold that team for a 7-figure valuation using all these systems and stuff you're hearing about today, including Kirby's database system. And now I get to coach agents. Been coaching for 10 years. That's really my passion, is to help others build a business with efficiency through systems and people.
Yeah, the funnier, I told the one part of the story, Stacy was the first client, but it was like 3 months in, I'm like, hey, can you coach for me too? And you're like, I don't know, this seems weird. I'm only like a client for like 3 months. I'm like, you're going to be great. It's going to be awesome. So that's how Real Estate B School was really born, when Stacy gave me money and then she helped me pull all of the stuff together. So, all right, cool. Ben, you're next in the rotation here. So real quick overview.
Yeah, so I'm in the greater Syracuse, New York market. Average price in our market's about 200,000. In 2017, I started building a team, hired a coach because I needed help. Didn't go as well as I planned. So hired a second coach, didn't go as well as I planned. So hired B School in September of 2019, and then just implemented systems every quarter. And so I've been coaching now for B School for maybe 2 years or so. And I'm lucky. I have an amazing team that just have stepped up to the plate since I've started coaching. And my operations team does really well, and the sales team does really well. So it's enabled me to kind of pull out of production as much as I want to, and spend more time coaching.
And one thing I want to say, even though the journey of everyone on the screen here is, in some sort of team systems building capacity, that's not going to be the focus of this per se. So I don't want you to check out thinking like, oh, I don't want a team, or you will get to the point in your journey where you will need leverage to have any freedom whatsoever. Whether that's you want to get to 2 to 3, 4 transactions per month, but you still want to have a life, you will need systems. You will need someone coming into your world to help you on the journey. All right, Chris.
All right, so I'm in the South Jersey market. I got into real estate probably around 2014, and only because my wife started selling real estate in 2009 and got to a point where she was, selling a lot as a solo agent. Decided next best thing was to start a team. Rather than hiring like an operations type person, I quit my job of 16 years, and we started a team, hired our first buyer's agent, and my whole job since then has been just implementing systems and tracking and accountability. We started with real estate B School probably in I think 2016, if I'm not mistaken, and we were able to just use everything we learned there and quickly grew from $12 million a year to 40-45 million. I think we've gotten to 50 million recently. So yeah, and that's just kind of been my focus as all operations and implementing systems.
Awesome. How about you, Greg?
Been in the business for over 20 years. Had 4 small kids, quit my job. Wife wasn't working, so she helped in the business. We had no income. Had no experience. Couldn't believe how dysfunctional real estate was compared to a normal job. Started building a team from the very start, early 2000s. Got up to somewhere in the low 400 units over a long period of time by slow growth. I'm sitting in my office right now, still working in real estate, and I've been coaching for 7, 8, 9 years now, I guess.
Awesome. All right, cool. So let's kind of take a big picture view of your journey, kind of maybe specific to you, but also kind of like as you guys are coaching, you've got small teams you're coaching, you've got solo agents that are trying to grow a business and kind of get to the 2, 3, 4 transactions per month. But as you look back on your business building journey, what would you say the few key moves that had the most impact? When you look at like, man, I have figured some stuff out. We've all made all the mistakes, but what would you say like the 2 or 3 kind of big moves that you made that had the biggest impact? Stacy, why don't you go first?
One thing for me was determining what holes I had in the business and what needed to be plugged first. So like finding that one domino that gave me more time and more freedom in my business, and it could slowly start knocking down others. So really finding that thing I could just start with, focus on, and implement fully. Secondly, I think working off a plan. It wasn't my natural ability to stay focused on one thing. It was like try to find a million things, and whatever excites me at the time, that's what I'll work on. So really focusing on, quarterly planning, which we didn't call it that at the beginning. I don't know what we called it, but just working through that. Two or two and a half, number two, two and a half is utilizing the tools to their max. So really just having a couple tools and figuring out how to really use them. Like we all know how to use our phones, but maybe not fully, but then we get better and better. So really utilizing my CRM, really utilizing like a tracking, which was honestly a Google Sheet. So, but just using them to the fullest, and then hiring a really great assistant, because I didn't start with a really, well, she was really great, but just it wasn't working for the business. And so finding that person that I could really, that could move as fast as I could, but also slow me down when I was like adding new things, which goes back to working off a plan.
Really good. How about you, Ben?
I think for me, it was two things. It was the realization when I read the quote in Atomic Habits that we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. And understanding that I just couldn't like push through. I had to get systems implemented. And then the second thing was just, I think one of my, superpowers is staying focused and not squirreling out as hard as it is. And my coach, Greg, is on here, so he might call me out on that. But, I just have a lot of things under the black line on the whiteboard, and so trying to, not go to the next whiz bang thing, but really focus on like going deeper on the things that are working. And you can do that when you track stuff. So I think just staying focused and understanding the value of systems has been critical.
Awesome. How about you, Chris?
I would say the things that had the biggest impact was like, what we decided to focus on. Meaning like a couple of things that we focused on early was lead gen. So that was one of the big things for us. Like, rather than just say like, hey, I hear this works, you guys should do it. It became kind of a requirement for our team. Like in exchange for the tools and the systems and the support and everything, like you also had to show up in lead gen every morning. That was no questions asked about that. And then also tracking and accountability. Once we started, really tracking their numbers and reporting them and having them report back to us, I think everyone's sales improved, once they knew that we were kind of what we were tracking that stuff. And then finally, I would say big focus on our database. We were guilty, just like everyone else, of sending as much money as we could to Zillow and Google and every other big lead source. Hey, this is going to make you a ton of money if you give us a ton of money. And we still do that. There's still a place for that, and it's good. But we are very careful with how much we spend on those other lead sources. Our main focus, is definitely on our database, and that's where we definitely spend the most money because it's the highest ROI for sure.
Awesome. How about you, Greg?
Starting with sales productivity, just myself and working with others on agent production. Secondarily, my team, and I think most teams that are successful, focus on the basics over and over, that there's not something new that comes along necessarily. It's the same thing we've all been told what to do, and we haven't maybe really committed or kept working on that. And the big one for me was understanding the correlation between tracking, production tracking, CTE, your profit and loss statement, how that mesh it, and why we don't do that very well, because we don't have a financial model, which is why we don't really track net worth, because what does it all matter? Because we don't have a people chart and we don't understand really what our business looks like. And we don't have a personal financial model, which really screws up our life. And taking any one of those two things out of the group doesn't really matter. But when you have a picture where they're all interchanged, then tracking down your financials every month really does matter, because it affects your net worth, which affects your life now, not some 20 years down the road when I possibly am going to retire. So that's been a huge impact working with Lars.
Yeah, just hoping that one day it'll all turn out. It'll magically, and that goes back to Atomic Habits too, that like the system of building, net worth, it's not just simply a goal. It's the daily, the weekly, the monthly system. It's really good. All right, next question. This is Hopefully no squirrels. You guys have known better that no squirrels would be let out. But as it relates to like what's actually working right now versus what's not working, like consistently you're seeing, you know, your clients, agents that you're talking to when it comes to like lead gen sources. So what's working, like hands down, these couple things are working. And hands down, these couple things over and over and over again, agents come into our world and they've done this, and hands down, it's not working. All right, we'll just go same order. Ladies first.
Well, of course I'm going to say database, because I think it's, as we've all been talking, and Kirby did such a good job presenting it. It's one of the things that I think people check the box on, like done, database. Yeah, I've got that going. Yeah, I get enough referrals. I need more business, more business. But then when you look at the number of contacts and the number of the conversion percentage that they're doing, it's not maximized. So database, and really adding maybe more touches. And the touches are probably what I call active touches, not passive touches. Passive touches are like direct mail, you know, what else? Postcard, well, that's direct mail side. Things like that. Active touches are like actively talking to them, hopefully face to face, connecting, you know, those things. Being the market expert. So really confidently being able to articulate what's happening in the market, as well as how that relates locally and then globally, or at least United States, and showcase that, showcase your knowledge, show up so people know you're an option. And these aren't like you were probably looking for, or maybe a lot of you on this were looking for, no, I need like the 3 names of where I can buy something. I'm not going to give you those. And then the last lead generation lever is literally this. Like, you have so many contacts in here and you're not, I want a magic pill too for a lot of things, but there's so many people in here that you're just not touching base with, which goes a little bit to the database marketing. But how many people are in your phone that aren't in your database? Or how many people are in an email, an old Google sheet, your phone, your iPad? Like, where are all these contacts stored? Get them in one place and start working through that. Like, the game is quantity of conversation. It's not even quality, because sometimes you can't control that. It's quantity, the amount of reach out and follow up. Anything you pay for, the reason that it most times doesn't work is, number one, you're not committed, and number two, there is not like a 2-year follow-up plan, because that's the average that it takes sometimes to get an online lead conversion cycle going. So that's fine.
Really good. Ben.
Yeah, I'm just going to say it because I have to. It's my largest lead gen lever is my database. And I don't have a large one. It's 258 people. Brought me in. I spent 13,000 on it in 2023. It brought me in 257,000 in GCI. Again, my market is smaller, but the point being that it's massive ROI. And so that's something we're continuing to go deeper on. But the other thing that we've really seen a great benefit from, and it was something we learned in B School a few years ago, was our building out our Google page, because it's free. So, we did a Google review contest in my team. We got a bunch of reviews. And from that, we get really quality leads that they're almost like warm leads because they've seen all of the wonderful reviews online. So, it's like, hey, we sell all this stuff, we want to hire you. I just got a, buyer called the other day, and they said, well, they said I was referred to you. And I said, well, who referred you? And they said, actually, Google referred us. We saw all your reviews on Google. And so taking the time to build that out, and it's not easy to like call your friends and family and say, hey, will you leave a review for me? But it's also not hard, once you kind of get over the mindset hurdle of just like, it's really critical to your business to have that social proof pointing to how great you are. So I think that Google is just an untapped, for most agents, it's an untapped lead gen lever.
Awesome. How about you, Chris?
So I'm going to start with database first as well. I don't need to spend a ton of time on that. We all know how important that is. I would just say, similar to Kirby, like, yeah, we have our passive type of touches like postcards and emails and stuff, but everything's kind of centered around client events for us as well. So we do 4 client events a year. And I mean, it's just every quarter there's the postcards that go out, the phone calls that you make to make sure they got the invite, and everything's kind of centered around that. And that's, where we spend the most money and what's by far the most effective for us. The next one I would say, and I'm going to combine, I said like Google LSA, but also Google My Business. So Google local service ads are doing really well for us right now. And it's important, like Ben was saying, get your reviews up, because when you do pop up there, most people are going to jump first to the person with the most reviews. So we did the same thing, Google review contest. We got our reviews up. And one piece of advice I would give for Google LSA is set your budget as high as you can. You'll never hit the budget. I mean, I would still do it if I could, but if you set your budget at $1,500 a week, you're not going to get that. You're just saying you're willing to spend that. So don't be afraid of the budget on there, and answer every single call that comes in. You'll get, the more you answer, the more you'll get. And you'll get a good return on that. And then also Google My Business. I'm just combining those. Focus on that. It's like a free little website on the right-hand side of Google. Add to it, keep adding. Every time you get a listing, add it as a product, add a content to it, and you'll get organic traffic. And then finally, circle prospecting. And I'll say circle prospecting for nurtures. Most people don't like it. It's hard to set an appointment to a completely cold, I'm calling to see if you want to sell your house. We're not super salesy. We're not trying to talk someone into an appointment they don't want, but we do want to find out if they're, may sell in the next 3 years, even 5 years, whatever. If they didn't just move in, and then we find out, where would you move if you were to sell, we'll nurture that person. I mean, we list houses now from a call that somebody that's not even on our team anymore made 6 years ago. We market to that database and call that database regularly as well.
Yeah. So the main reason you're doing it is to take cold to warm.
Exactly.
Yes. And so you're not necessarily like in a hardcore close someone to an appointment. You're just looking to build your database on a daily, weekly basis.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. Awesome. Greg, how about you?
I think I'm kind of maybe bring it full circle around to where Stacy started. I tend to, like all of us, attend a lot of conferences, and it gets kind of confusing because you're in one room, you're like, oh yeah, that'll work. And then your next room, you're like, oh wow, maybe that'll work. And all these different ideas. And then a lot of people ask, like, what should I do? And I think while there's a better idea than a worse idea, it really doesn't matter. What matters is, are you having a lot of conversations with somebody about real estate? Preferably those conversations would be higher quality than lower quality. And then do you have a great follow-up plan that isn't garbage? Like, I mean, we send a follow-up plan that really matters, and it doesn't have to be real hard or scientific. Just updating people, hey, I saw this house, I think you might like it, or here's why the market changes. I was on a golf trip with friends of mine a couple years ago, and I'm getting ready to tee off a very nice course, and he's like, why'd you send me something about pumpkins? I'm like, what? He goes, you sent me some email about pumpkins. He goes, why? He's an engineer. And I'm like, I have no idea why we do crap like that. It just made no sense. And it's just funny because I'm laughing. He goes, no, seriously, I want to know why you're sending me a pumpkin recipe. I'm like, I do not know why people send that from my email, but it's coming out to you. And that's not to make fun of what we do, but if we just followed up and cared about people, and over 18-month period, our conversion, I'm convinced, would be 90%. And I am obsessed with that. So conversations, better conversations and worse conversations, and follow-up that actually is meaningful to anyone, particularly people we've talked to.
Yeah, I had a conversation recently with one of our coaching clients who went through our kind of entry-level program. And I was doing a debrief with him, and I was looking at his numbers, and ironically, I'm not going to give his name. He was on my real estate team. He left the real estate team. He's doing his own thing. He hired B School to kind of help him. So I was looking through his numbers. So I knew our minimum standards, like, and they are what they are. Do we want it to be easier to sell homes? Yeah, we do. But we know if you don't have 25 meaningful conversations a day, you're not in the game. And there were some weeks where he had like 12 conversations in the whole week. And I'm like, all right, let's just look at your numbers to see where you're at. And I'm like, Jimmy, that's not his name, but Jimmy, like, really? Like, you can't BS me. Like, you know better. You know that, like, you may not have liked the structure and the cadence, the accountability, and the fact that we knew the numbers over like a gazillion contacts and conversion metrics by lead source. But I'm like, you're not in the game. You have to figure out a way, and this is for everybody. You have to figure out a way to have 20 meaningful conversations a day. If it's like you can get 10 just by the landscaper that's across the street, that's one. Like your pool guy shows up, or you drop off your dry cleaning, that's 3 conversations. You go to the gym, you talk to a couple members, that's 4 and 5. Like you may get to 10 just in your day-to-day, and then you may have to sit down for a couple hours to get another 10 to 15. But as a real estate agent, you cannot end the week unless you have 125 meaningful conversations in the week. So just sit there silently in the morning, like, how am I going to talk to 20 people today? And we want to think that like one guy, and I love him, I'm not going to mention by name, but on this thread, he's like, I'm going to work on my SEO, and he's new to real estate. And I'm like, who told you to work on your SEO? Like, who? It's like, well, all the big companies have mastered SEO, and clearly it's part of like a larger, like it is not part of a strategy that you need to even worry about even a little bit at this point. It's like, figure out how to have 20 meaningful conversations today. All right. Hopefully you enjoyed part 1 of how to take your unfair share in a crazy, crazy market. And you got a sense of our coaches and the kinds of issues that our members are bringing to their world that they're helping them solve. Like I said in the intro here, if you want to have a conversation about your business, what it could look like to have someone come in and hold your hand to build out systems in your business that give you that chance at not only helping you sell more homes, but give you the leverage that you need. So you have the ability to generate an unfair share of income in a reasonable amount of time. That's really the goal of Real Estate B School. So go to $1,000,000agentmethod.com. That's $1,000,000agentmethod.com. I think there's a 7-minute video that you could watch and then just book in these strategy sessions. So we'll see you on part 2 of how to take your unfair share.